Good morning. My name is David Kroll. Welcome to Business Law 201. The purpose of today's video is just a short introduction of myself, the objectives for this class. I'll walk you through the Canvas shell set up for the class where all your assignments are on, and make sure you all know how to access the textbook. I was an attorney for about 25 years. Primarily in business law. I was an in-house attorney, which means that I worked for other companies. I was just one of the executives of the companies, and so kind of not the courtroom drama. My job was to help the managers and owners avoid litigation risk, which has to do with either other people suing them or employee disputes, those types of things, helping them negotiate contracts. And so I try to approach this class of teaching you guys, assuming that you're going to someday be owners or managers of your own companies, and that's how I'll try and share with you the information from the textbook. Speaking of the textbook, if you haven't already got it, it's online only. It's a digital textbook. I did that to save money for you guys. It's substantially cheaper than the hard cover books. If you go to flatworldknowledge.com, let me make sure you can see this. It's flatworldknowledge.com. And if you go to this middle section here where it says, I am a student, and you click on that highlight section, I am a student, right in the middle, and it gives you a chance to search. It comes up here, find my course. You can do by course name, but it's easier just to search by professor or my name. And if you type in David Kroll, I'll put a space in there and everything, David Kroll, and search, it should come up with a couple of choices. Uh-oh, is it not coming up? There we go. And I am the business law one right here, course Business 201. You can select this course. The legal and ethical environment of business 3.0. Add to cart. You only need the cheapest one. You can get these other things if it helps you, but you certainly are going to be okay if you just select this cheapest version right here. I know it prompts you to get the other one, but that's just if you want to download it, but if you're okay totally online, the 34. So that's your choice. So that's all you have to do to get the book. Some of you may have gone to the bookstore, and that's fine too, but I just want to make sure you had access to it. As far as Canvas, hopefully most of you used Canvas before. If not, send me a text or an email. The best way to email me, it's my name, david.kroll@seattlecolleges.com. I posted an announcement with my contact information, including my cell number. I do encourage you to text me, email me. Just based on my background, I'm used to clients accessing me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it doesn't bother me at all to hear from students anytime you have a question, text or call or email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. It's much easier than communicating just like through Canvas. Just feel free to reach out. So once you open Canvas, the very top thing is, again, the textbook information, which I just covered. That's how to link directly to it. The first section up here is really just some background on Canvas. It's kind of generic, this Canvas student orientation. If you're familiar with Canvas, just feel free to skip it. And then it starts with these different modules. And the first week here, I'm hoping to cover 2 different chapters. This is a shortened summer schedule, and so there's a lot of reading to cover just in the first 2 weeks. You have to get through 4 chapters, 2 chapters per week. Chapters 1 and 2 is what we'll start with. And what I've done for you is I've provided, this is information actually from the publisher, so it matches the textbook exactly. There are an overview and objective for each of the sections that we go through, and it talks about the learning objectives for those chapters that we're going to cover, and then talks about the assignments that we're going to have for each one. I'm going to get through these pretty quickly. You can see it on your own. I also provide lecture notes. These are great for a study guide. Again, they're from the publisher. It's not I do not recommend skipping reading the text and just relying just on these notes, but for definitions and the terms, they definitely help to study for the exams. And so they're loaded in here. The lecture notes will cover an outline of the chapter, and they're really good about the highlighted words within here for definitions of the different terms. So that's why I recommend going to that. In addition to the lecture notes, I have loaded in here the PowerPoints. This is Chapter 1 PowerPoint, which again, they're just another source to help summarize the reading material. You start with the reading, and then maybe when you're taking the quiz and you actually have the quiz open, it's online, also have the lecture notes open online, and you'll feel free to go back and forth between the lecture notes or the PowerPoints and the quiz questions and use them to help you answer the quizzes online. So the PowerPoints are in here too, covering each of the chapter materials. Again, they're from the publisher. They follow the book outline completely, and it's just a quick study guide, if you will, but it's not a substitute for actually doing the reading. You'll find that the chapters themselves will have material that's not in the PowerPoint and not in the lecture note. They may have examples or case studies, they'll call them, and those come up on the quizzes. So speaking of quizzes, the 2 assignments that you'll have for every chapter, there's an online discussion question that asks you to respond to, and there's a quiz related to that. So for the first week, and these are generally due Sundays, I've given you some extra time on some of them, but for a discussion question, this first one that comes up is pretty simple. It's just introduce yourself to the class, and to me, it says, tell me about yourself, quite frankly. Tell me a little something about yourself, and then tell me maybe what your interest is in the law. I ask you just for fun. Pick a favorite television show or movie or book or something that's related to the law that you like, whether it's like Law and Order, the TV show, or some famous movie like The Juror, something like. There's all kinds of legal related shows out there, and I've given you an example. I'll go ahead to other discussions because I want you to see in general how to answer them. The first one is easy. It's just tell us about yourself. A more common example, let's say chapter 2, or the second discussion, which is actually on chapter 3. Do you think that juries can be trusted to always arrive at the truth? Why or why not? And how should your answer impact your litigation or settlement strategy as a business owner or manager? And this is, and the important part of this is to earn all 10 points. I want you to respond to each of the questions, because you notice this discussion question had a couple different pieces to it. It first asks you to answer whether or not you think they can be trusted to get the truth, then tell me why or why not, and then tell me how this impacts your litigation strategy. So to get full credit, you have to break apart and probably have a sentence or a paragraph for each of those points, each of those topics within the discussion section, okay? And try and use language or comments from within the chapter to show that you've read it and you've understood it and you can apply it to this question. For example, the textbook will talk about this thing that I've highlighted here called litigation or settlement strategy, which really means that if you're a manager or a business owner, just because you may think you're innocent and you don't want to pay, is that always the best result? If you get sued, you might be right and you might not have done anything wrong, but it might cost you $100,000 in attorney's fees just to prove that you did that wrong. Would you be better off as a business owner if you settled for $10,000, didn't admit any guilt, but pay somebody 10 grand to go away rather than spend $100,000 to defend the lawsuit and prove that you were right in court? So that's in general what we're talking about, but I want to hear what you think about those types of discussions too. So in addition to discussions after each chapter, I provide a 25 question, 1 point each quiz. And I'll go ahead and open one up and show you what they're like. This is the first one. And this one combines chapters 1 and 2. They're both introductory ones. And I'll preview it for you so you get a feeling for what they look like. They're multiple choice, short answer questions, some true or false. Founding Fathers, United States, just true or false one there. How do the consequences differ between violating social norms, social customs or norms, and violating the law? True and false are pretty self-explanatory. When you're answering these more short answer, again, be careful that you're always answering. If there's 2 parts, answer both parts of the question to get a full point for it. Otherwise, you might end up with like half a point. How do they differ? How do the consequences differ between violating social norms or customs and violating the law? So I want to see both parts. How does a rule of law provide protection for property. Again, take a sentence or two. It doesn't have to be a whole page answer because you won't have time, but take a sentence or two and be as full as your explanation as possible. I'll go a couple more. System of laws under which people in government are bound is known as a blank system, and that's just a fill in the blank. I'm going to pause here for a minute to tell you this is something that happens with Canvas. On these quizzes, I've noticed that especially on these fill in the blank answers, if you make a typo, you misspell a word, or you have an extra space in there, Canvas may show it as an incorrect answer and mark it wrong. Please don't worry about that. I go back and I individually grade every assignment you give me in Canvas. And if I can tell, oh, that's just a typo or spacing, I will give you the credit back. You don't have to ask for it. I will. And just so don't panic if you're going through and you're sure you answered it correctly, but Canvas marked you wrong. Give me a day to go through your quiz. I'll fix all those points. And if you still have a question about it, think, well, I'm sure I got that one right, send me an email or text, and I will take a look at it again and correct it and give you credit, okay? So don't be, I just don't want to interrupt you or get you too frustrated because Canvas is less than perfect when it comes to grading. So that was just kind of a heads up on that. And these quizzes have 25 questions each. They're all like this, true, false, short answer, fill in the blank, multiple choice for each of the chapters. And all of the information to answer these quizzes successfully comes from the chapter, comes from the reading assignment, okay? And so I really encourage you to stay current on your reading. Yes, use the lecture notes. Yes, use the PowerPoints. They will help you. But every answer actually comes from the textbook, okay? So I've shown you a little bit about how to find your textbook. The weekly modules are here in Canvas. Chapters 1 and 2 are here with the lecture notes, the PowerPoint. You'll have a discussion item, and you'll have a quiz for each one. The only other assignment you have to worry about on this class is there is a final. There's a final exam at the very end, and I'll page down at the bottom here. It's 62 questions. It's a few of the identical questions you had on these chapter quizzes from each of the chapters that we study, and I put them into a final test at the very end. And so there's 62 questions there. You get 3 hours to take it. And it is due August 16th. This is summertime. It comes up fast, and there isn't a finals week during summer. So you have to, I'm required to give you the test like the last day. So this is, I think, a Friday, though, of the quarter. So there isn't a separate finals week. So everything does happen very quickly here. So that's a little bit of a background. I'll try and do these types of videos once or twice a week to make sure you have a resource to go back to. And always I'm available on campus, by phone, or email to answer your questions. Thank you very much.